Batman Gotham Nights is another one of those fun one-and-done digital comic stories that DC have been putting out to help satiate fans until new comics can officially be sold again. That pretty much means you can jump in wherever you want to these, which is why I've decided to take a look at issue number 2. Alrighty then, so as we join the comics, we see a big-time Hollywood actor by the name of Yates tearing up the streets in his souped-up sports car. Ironic that this guy's claim to fame we discover is actually starring in a long-running series of car chase movies, Fast and the Furious. It would seem this guy does his own stunts because he's actually pretty damn good behind the wheel, not nearly as good as Batman behind the Batmobile though, who's able to swoop on in and make short work of him. Now believe it or not, it's only after Yates is arrested does the real mystery start to begin. As Commissioner Gordon tells it, before this guy went on the run, he assassinated a high-powered movie producer. The producer in question was about to sell off one of Gotham's most historically significant movie houses, a place deeply tied to this man's own career, which probably makes sense as far as motive goes. The only problem is that there's security footage showing this very same actor somewhere else in the city while the crime was committed, meaning that he was literally in 2 places at once. So, this looks like a mystery that only the Dark Knight can solve. His first stop is the Gala Ball, where Yates and this producer were attending before the murder. Batman finds some rather interesting dirt particles on the floor and even asks the cleaning staff for help, in perfect Spanish, I might add. I mean, yeah, Batman probably speaks all sorts of languages, but it's cool to see him speak Spanish. Now, chances are, if you read a lot of comics, or if you even just looked at the cover for this story, then you're probably ahead of the game right now. Dirt particles, actors, a famous movie house. This has to be the work of Clayface. And indeed, when Batman looks up this movie house that's at the center of all of this crime, it turns out that Basil Karlo has set up shop there. Now, when we had last seen Basil Karlo in the main continuity, he was actually part of Batman's own Detective Comics Bat Family team. He had come a long way as a character and even became good friends with Cassandra Cain. I only bring this up because the actual canonicity of these new digital comics is kind of up in the air. They don't necessarily contradict anything from the main universe, but you have things like this where Clayface is more or less back to being a villain, but a villain with a good reason as we discover. You see, Basil Karlo's very first movie actually premiered in this theater, and as such it holds a special place in his heart. He wasn't going to let that big power producer sell it off just to make a quick buck. And as far as framing Yates go, as we discover, he's another one of those famous Hollywood sleazebags abusing and assaulting many of his female co-stars. So as far as Clayface sees it, he took care of 2 monsters at once. Naturally, Batman can't let this slide and decides to bring Basil in, but it would seem that Clayface has actually planned ahead. The building was going to get demolished anyway, and as such he soaked pretty much the whole thing in kerosene. The doors and windows are also sealed from the outside, meaning that Batman is basically stuck in one giant clay oven right now. Basil saying that if this is how he dies, if this is truly his final curtain, he'll happily accept it, knowing full well that he took Batman down with him. Why, they even say that if this was any other city, this probably would have been the perfect crime, but no, it just had to be Gotham, and it just had to be Batman. Mr. Solves every mystery. Batman ends up blowing up one of the walls so he can escape out the side. He tries to get Clayface to come with him, but again, if this guy doesn't want to move, it's not like you're gonna force him to. In the end, all that's left behind is a giant clay shell. At first, Batman, and by extension the reader, thinks that Clayface might actually be dead, but no, once again, he was an actor giving an amazing performance. One last death soliloquy so he could escape out the sewers below. Batman opines to himself about that famous phrase that every great villain is a hero in their own story. He wonders who said that quote, probably some villain, as the comic comes to a close. And so that was Batman Gotham Nights issue number 2, everyone. This story came to us courtesy of Michael Gray, a man who's been having an absolutely great couple months when it comes to these digital books, him having also written that Aquaman story as well. This is yet another damn fine one-and-done story, one that takes a real good look at Batman as a detective, and we also get to play around with Clayface too. A character who I think, out of respect for all the good work Tynion did with him over in Detective Comics, has kind of been sitting on the shelf for the last little bit, no one really wanting to touch him yet, no one really being sure what his future should be. Even if this book ends up not being in continuity, I can still respect this idea of Basil Karlo as this almost sort of anti-hero figure now. I feel comfortable giving this one an 8 out of 10. This was another really refreshing little Batman story. No big theatrics, just a good solid mystery. In fact, the only way that they could probably make it better is not by spoiling that Clayface is involved with the story by having him on the cover. Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing me right now, it means you watched to the end of the video, of which I will always be appreciative of. It really helps with retention and all that other good YouTube stuff. If you really like my work, you can check me out on social media. I have links down in the description of the video you're watching right now to all my different socials. I got the Twitter, I got the Instagram, I got the Facebook. I'm very easy to be reached, and if you follow me there, you can be the first to know about when a new video goes live. And with that, I will bid you all adieu. Bye-bye.